Hey guys, and welcome back to ATM10. This is episode 32, and holy crap, we've done half a stack of episodes. It's also 2025, which is a strange feeling given that I haven't played Minecraft in a while. But either way, I did, between episodes, craft back up the unobtainium, and I really tried, but I couldn't get used to the mech suit, so it now hangs there. I'm back in Eclipse Alloy. And I've actually had to go back to see what I was up to and where I left off before I went on a tangent to get Fusion up and running. And I think I remembered it's to 12x my ORES. Yes, you heard me right, 12x. Now, if you've been around for a while, you'll know that with mods like Industrial Foregoing and Mechanism and some of the other crushing, like Create lets you crush your ores to increase their yields. With a recent update to all the mods 10, Modular Machinery Reborn was added, and that also added Mechanism machines as Modular Machinery Reborn MultiBlock machines. And these guys can do 12x. Now initially the math on these machines was off, it wasn't actually 12xing, but over here you can see that there's a runic chemical dissolution chamber, and it basically takes all of your ores and raw ores and turns them into the slurries, and then the slurries get cleaned and then crystallized, and then turned into shards, then into clumps, then into dust, and then into like the clean dusts. And then you get ingots from that. And yes, this chain is 12x. The math was off initially. I did point that out and it got fixed super quickly. Thank you, Satharov, you're the best. Now, just as before, all of these machines are still made like so in the Runic Hephaestus Forge. So I'm just going to create recipes for all of this, chuck it in this bad boy right here, and wait for the outputs. And hopefully these machines fit in the platforms over here. I hope. Just a little bit of playing the game later, I now have all of the steps required to make the 12x dream a reality. And looking at these modular machines, it does look like they're going to look the same as these, at least at the surface, and they're going to live right here, I think. And between episodes, I just remembered while trying to autocraft up all of these casings, I made dark steel blocks 1x compressed so that I could use these to make the seeds. Because having to wait for dark steel to craft every single time to then be crafted into end steel is getting a little old, actually. You know the process, it's just gonna go here or there, or I don't know. Ooh, I have a feeling this is going to take a while to complete because the Hephaestus Forge is now waiting on fluid inputs, which is being limited by this guy. That's a shame. It's blown through all of my buffers and stuff too while trying to craft this scrap. It's still doing one of the cores. This one right here. And then this is waiting for that. Yeah, it's a nightmare. Alright, a little bit of standing around later. I believe this should be everything to make all of these machines. So one goes down here, and then the next one will go down here, and then the next one will go down here. And I should now be able to say construct structure, try to place reinforced. What is it missing? It is missing. Couldn't find the item reinforced casing. That is unfortunate. Don't have it in my person. That is true. Let's try that again, shall we? I just grabbed the stuff I crafted, and sure enough, it's done. Next up, the washing station. No Irish this time. And then the chemical crystallizer. Ooh, not enough stairs. And now that these are all fired up, next cause of concern is the input hash for this thing. This is going to be accepting all of the ores that it can process via a tagged export bus with blacklists. And given that this has 54 total recipes, that's 27 times 2, and that 1 in every 3 is the type I want, so I just need 18 slots. And the biggest hatch I have is a reinforced one that has 9. If I just craft this up to be bigger, well, it needs a oak gold chest, which I can manage. There we are, just handcrafted it up. That gives me 12. I need 18, so I'd like one more, please. Turns out I just ended up crafting ludicrous because, well, that's where I ended up. So that gets an item input and has a chemical output. Then this guy gets a chemical input and then gives me a washed chemical output. And then this takes in that chemical and then turns it into items. So this gets an item output. And then those items will end up in a injecting factory, and then a purifying factory, and then a crushing factory, and then an enriching factory. This is the crushing factory that I was doing pumpkins a long time ago, all the way up in that corner there. And then after enriching, of course, it gets smelted. And to get items all the way to the end, I have to start putting items in. And all I've done so far is put in a item tag export bus that has the C:ORES on it, and I'm slowly going to go through and check and make sure that these ORES can be processed, and if they can't be, I'll look at their tags. For example, here near this dark mode tab right here, you can see C:/ORES/BORT, and that'll go in the blacklist filter down here. This is the very definition of exhilarating content. Just doing the same thing over and over. And it's my understanding that the YouTube audience loves that a lot. Yep, this is my life. Okay, you don't have to suffer through it with me. It's fine. Oh. I guess I built up too much nuclear waste while it was raining. That's unfortunate. Fixed itself. Hey, that's the importance of having an alarm. My nuclear reactor would have gone kaboom if I wouldn't have known. Always nice to see a system work perfectly. And I think I've done it. It only took a little bit of time and a lot of effort, but all of this is the blacklist for things that what was this called again? The chemical dissolution chamber cannot process. And of course, this guy needs sulfuric acid to run, so the interface is going to request sulfuric acid via a crafting card. And I think I should be able to request 4 buckets of this, and then request it twice, because I feel like I'll go through a lot of this. But it does come in fairly fast, so that's quite alright. Now, if all goes to plan, this should already be working. Magic recipe found. That's a shame. No chemical input hatch. Oh, so this has to be a chemical then. I see. Yeah, well, fortunately for me, I have an autocraft for that. That goes there. And hopefully that's working. I have no way of knowing for sure. Oh wait, if that's a chemical, then this would not work. Because those were mechanical pipes instead of pressurized tubes. Mechanism chemicals are transferred using tubes. And there it is. Sulfuric acid. And it is being piped into this thing. And I bet this now has platinum slurry. Excellent. So if that's a chemical, I can pipe it straight ahead into the next block. Which... what's it missing now? Probably water, given that this is a washing station. Yeah, it's water. Alright, I can just use one of those eternal water blocks and another fluid input hatch. In fact, I can use the one I crafted for that. Here we are. That goes there. And hopefully, this now has stuff for me. Clean platinum slurry, which is still a chemical. So, just pipe it across. And yeah, for these little machines, I'm making a compromise and not routing the cables down and around because I don't think it's worth it. I will route them down and around when they come out here though. Now if this is working, what is this again? You are a no item input bus. What you need an item input for? Item output bus. Oh, that's an item input. Oh, my bad. Alright, item output goes in. And here it is. Platinum crystals. Perfect. This system works. Now I'm going to use a subnet to transfer it over here. And to make a subnet, I'll go through the process once again. I will need an import bus over here, which is going to pull into the subnet. And then a storage bus over here that is going to push all items into whatever block it's attached to. So in this case, all of the items that are going to go into the system are going to be looking for somewhere to be stored. And they'll end up in the storage bus. Ergo, the injecting factory. And ta-da! I now have a bunch of platinum that is in here. Now, all of this platinum needs to be injected with hydrogen chloride. And, you know, fortunately for me, I do have a fairly robust brine production system right here. So I could use all of that brine to make salts somehow, I think. And, you know, given the fact that hydrogen chloride can be made in one of these multi-block infusers, and that the infuser is the same footprint as these, I could set up one of those right here. Wait a minute, who built that? You know, whoever did build this didn't do a good job of placing down the stairs because they were all facing the wrong way. So we gotta fix that, of course. And I might as well put a light on top because it looks nice that way. But you know, while this thing is here, I'll set it up to receive hydrogen from the back. The output's already set up to pull hydrogen chloride out. And now that the autocraft for the hatch is done, I can put the hatch right there and have an export bus exporting hydrogen and chlorine, for that matter, right into this place. I had to move some inputs and outputs around because I also need an energy hatch, but with these blocks right here, hydrogen should be in this input hatch, and chlorine will eventually come in that hatch from right there. Electrolytic separator, go bonk. What am I missing? Just stuff. And with this wireless connector online, an interface which will supply power to this block right here. And now I need to manage inputs and outputs. So one input and two outputs. But I would be perfectly okay with trashing one of them. I believe I would like to trash the sodium because the sodium is only ever used to cool reactors. And I don't feel like using any more of that reactor than I have to. So the sodium gets trashed. So energy, input, and output. I'm not a fan of this wiring solution, but unfortunately I have no control over which output goes where, so I'm having to just deal with figuring out this later. And the later is now. So one import bus for me, please, and the chlorine will end up directly into my system. I will have to give it a spot, but then one ultimate pressurized tube would go here and then dump all of my spare sodium into a trash can because sodium truly has no use. And it seems like I'll be dumping energy this way too, and I don't want that at all. So configurator, disconnect. And now this should be going. Yep, every now and again this produces a bunch of chlorine. And the chlorine is ending up in here. Well, other type of chlorine, I guess. The import bus doesn't seem to be able to pull from the chemical output hatch, which seems like it shouldn't be the case, but I have alternatives in the form of pipes. So I can always just do this and pipe the chlorine out. And I would then assume that all of the chlorine has ended up in this machine here and reacted with all of the hydrogen to make hydrogen chloride. And then if that's the case, that would mean that this has made some progress, which doesn't seem like it has. So where's all my chlorine going? Oh, you know what? If it doesn't have enough space, it might just be, yep, it's just chilling in the interface. So, given that this is also sharing FE, I want to give this some space right here, so it at least has a slot to go into, and I'll just partition the drive really quickly. Please give me a moment. And here we have a bunch of chlorine coming in, and a bunch of chlorine going out. And I imagine now there's hydrogen chloride being produced and being put into here. Excellent. Now, all of the mechanism machines hold on to at least one craft worth of power, so all of that has ended up in here. And I think I'm going to power these machines from the bottom. Sort of like so. And of course, they're all going to get their upgrades for chemicals and all that jazz, but here we are, producing and using a bunch of hydrogen chloride, producing a bunch of platinum crystals that are ending up in here. Now, what does the purifying factory need? Oh, just oxygen. I should be able to provide that using the system. And then how would I provide it with power then if I'm going to use the bottom? I'm going to have to use the side. And then this would get to export oxygen into the back of this guy. Cool, cool. Now, once this is done, it would end up in here, and then in here, and then in there. Okay, upgrades. And with these energy upgrades, I think that's all of them. This is already producing way too much platinum. And I don't really think I have enough drive space partitioned out for platinum and stuff. I wonder. Because I would like to have all of those in mega cells, if that's the case. The case here being mass production in passive. And after having taken a quick look at the productions and where all the ingots are being stored, it does seem like I have all of these ingots set up in mega cells, or at the very least, fairly large cells with item destructions. Now, I would imagine that all of these platinum ingots would eventually end up in here, and then I'm just going to connect this guy back up to the system to begin with. So that's the system, that's the subnet. Just need to keep that distinction in mind when I connect these two up. And I should be able to thread the needle through this cable right here. Perfect. And with that in place, I think that is 12x ORES completed. We go from the chemical dissolution to the washing to the whatchamacallits, to the clumps, to the crush, to the clean, to the dirty, to the dust, and to the smelt, and into the system. Now it does need to be said that this 12x ORES system only works in ALDMods 10 because of its dependence on these runic multiblocks. In fact, if you try to do the same setup with the single block recipes, you won't get the 12x benefits. The ratios have been tweaked to make this the best way. And in all fairness, it does seem like my current bottleneck happens to be the purifying factory. So, yeah, I might just fix this and have more machines go down the line here. And there ain't no time like the present to just get started. I'm gonna get rid of all of these and probably alter that oxygen line because I need more expansion. So I've crafted up a few more machines here, one of them being the ultimate injecting factory, just like this guy. And so there's going to be two machines doing this. And then there's going to be purifying factories. Oh, I missed. Going down the line. And for the sake of this expansion, I think I'm going to stick to using the top sides as inputs for everywhere, and then use the back sides as outputs, or something like that, given that these guys would need back sides as inputs for oxygen. I might just pipe out of the back, go up and around, and come over here. Or maybe use the front. I don't know. I'll figure it out. And of course you'll find out. Okay, I think I've thought of something, and that something is kinda in line with what I said I was going to do initially, and that is use more subnets. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items that are going to be connected to this network, and I think I'm going to use a different color here. And personally, blue's a color as good as any, so this one's going to be blue. And this one's already processing. So if I want this to be the output phase going into the next set of machines, then I guess whatever I do would have to go up and around like so, and then connect up to the rest of these things. And of course I just configured this to be input at the top, no output on the side, like that, and then input from the back too, no input from the right, from the back's the oxygen input. And I'm going to use one of these and then just copy and paste all of these settings in. Now hopefully all of these will be getting their inputs. Are they not? Well, they should be. Oh, these are import buses. I can't be doing that, because then I have to tell this what to import. Could these be interfaces instead? I wonder. Could I just use two of these and pop this out and put one of these down, because the mechanism machines should auto-push. Should being the keyword. Ah, this wasn't set as an output. That makes sense. So that means this would also need the output to be the front. Cool. Now they're both working. I'm just gonna slap it full of acceleration cards, because the faster the better. And already you can see that hydrogen chloride is going to be a little bit of a problem. Just a teeny tiny bit. And I bet all of these machines also want upgrades, for sure. Now, I did not ever talk about my plans for oxygen outside of saying that it was going to come from the back. And what my plans have now changed into is using an interface and another subnet, because I don't think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, however many spare channels to pull off random crap like this. So, interface go here, and I could import bus into the system and then use storage buses just as before, like here, and config. Since all of these are already configured to be inputs in the back, I should just be able to connect all of this up. And the same color cable is not quite a problem here because it'll never actually connect, and that should be fine. So now, hypothetically, now that the interface is online, I should be able to request, I don't know, let's just say 4 buckets of hydrogen, and oh, nothing's powered. Please wait, I just need a quick little bit of quartz fiber. Just gonna pull that and do that, and all of these should be getting oxygen rather slowly until the interface picks up its pace and starts requesting the requisite amounts. And I feel like this is doing a nearest first type of dealio, because it's the only one getting oxygen at the moment. And that's a darn shame. Oh, also, only the first one has chemical upgrades, and I guess that's how good the chemical upgrades are, because you can see that the oxygen is nearly full and constantly being used. But here, it barely makes a dent. So if I just whack chemical upgrades into all of these, I have just enough, I guess. Yeah, you can see that they're all using much less oxygen, and this should now be requesting a whole boatload. Hopefully all of them turn on, otherwise I'll just request more oxygen. That might be the solution here. So looking at this processing chain, each one of these platinum shards turns into one platinum clump, and each clump gets processed into 2 dirty platinum dust in a crusher. So given that this is a 1-to-1 recipe, as in each one of these produces one of these, I would need an equivalent amount of crushers as I have purifying factories, which I have already prepared. The magic of editing. And just as before, I'm going to do the exact same thing, just to extend this line further as far as it comes out. And I think for this go around, I'm going to have all of the items come out the front and go in the front, and then I'm going to pull out the top and push in the top for the next machines. Now these bad boys, like their purifying cousins, will get storage buses on the top, and then interfaces in the front. And yeah, I did swap over to interfaces because they're pretty much instantaneous and don't have to wait to be processed. As you can see, they're already here, and if I were to connect them up to their storage buses, they would instantly transfer these items to wherever they can find space. But I do want to try a different color cable now, and I don't know. Given that these are purple, next color should be purple. So let's hook all of these machines up with this brand spanking new cable, shall we? And some astute viewers among you would notice what the problem is already. And the others would notice it the moment I plug this in. Too many channels. Because obviously 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 is too many channels for a spindly little subnet that can only do 8 channels. No, that is not a limitation of the cable, it's just how subnets work. Subnets cannot have more than 8 channels, which is why I haven't run into the problem here. 7 channels, 4 channels, yeah. However, will I split these apart? Now, some of you might remember setup like this, where I have a storage bus, an interface, the other way around, sorry, the interface, a storage bus, going into the interface, a storage bus, going into the interface, you get the idea. And that is exactly how you split subnets apart. Note that here, I had a machine that was auto-outputting, and I wanted to pipe all of the outputs down the line this way. I kind of want to do the exact same right here. So simply by splitting this network up into 2 parts, where all of these interfaces try to find somewhere to store something, I can give that something to be an interface, and once the little secondary network comes online, all of those items will end up in here. And already you can see that the machines with power are turning on. How cool is that? And now, a brief musical interlude to listen to the song of the Crushers. Okay, musical interlude's now over. Now for the next step, we need to use this dirty platinum dust, so press U. And instead of being used 2 at a time, it's used 4 at a time. So let's take a step back. It was produced 2 at a time, so that would lead me to believe that I would need twice as many machines down the line to process whatever many crushers I have. But looking at this recipe, I need half as many, because it's used at twice the rate, basically. So, instead of 5, I believe, 6 crushing factories, I'm going to need 3 enrichment chambers. Right here. And I'm going to skip this step really quickly because you've seen me set this up already. But I need a new color of cables, and given that there's a yellow line right here, I think I'm going to use a yellow cable to just connect all of these. Yeah, and just like that, all of the enriching factories are online, converting dirty platinum dust into regular old platinum dust, which I will then simply smelt. And fortunately for me, the unobtainium furnace is ungodly. It smelts many stacks of items at a time, so I'm not too worried about one furnace keeping up with all of these machines. That'll go there. And I think just as before, this guy should be outputting to the left, which is right into this interface, which I will now connect all the way back to this cable down here. I'll use white cables again, why not? Just gonna do that, and bring these cables to here, like so. That is horrible, give me a second. So much nicer, so much nicer. Alright, now I just gotta hook all of these into here and I should be done. And what cable should I use next? I see a light blue, so I'll use... Well, I already used a light blue. Purple, already used a purple. What am I seeing there? Is that a green? That does look like a green, but it's not too visible. A black, maybe? Yeah, I think I'll use a black cable. Or maybe I use a gray cable. Gray could look cool. I'll try a gray cable. Why not? Let's see how this looks. You know what? Not too shabby. I do like the look of this, and especially from a distance, you can barely tell what any of these machines are. And that is in contrast with the rest of my base, where you can clearly see what the machines are doing. On this side, given their runic nature and their hidden away nature, like those heavy water pumps, I've chosen to obfuscate what this machine does. And, you know, walking up to it, it just looks like something. And I think that's pretty cool. Although I don't quite like how this platinum is stacking up, so my solution for now is just to put down a couple of these pipes and just use, I don't know, a diamond upgrade. Actually, I think I can just directly upgrade this to netherite. Now these upgrades are pretty bad for the base overall because of how much lag they produce, and that's another topic for another day. For now, I can just set that to output and let it rip. Let it auto-sort. Look at it go. Now let's see what's not working. This isn't working because, well, it has no inputs. This is completely full, and that's quite alright. Now, I imagine that's because this is importing into the nearest first. So this is being filled up, and then this is being filled up. And then this has nothing, but its neighbors have stuff. I find that a little bit amusing. What's the difference here? They're all inputs. That's also set to an input. That should be set to an output technically. What's wrong here? And yeah, it seems like my math has paid off. All but one machines are generally on in every single tier. So this has one extra enriching factory, and then this guy has 2 extra crushing factories. And then this seems like it's 1 extra purifying factory. So if I ever get a backlog like I had a second ago, this system is fast enough to keep up with this system right here. Or at least so I'd like to believe. I'd have to do a little bit more monitoring here to actually find out. I believe given that this is now empty and this is now slowly emptying out, I could turn on auto sort on all of these, that would be helpful. Right, given that all of these are slowly filling up and emptying out, I think that this would be keeping up now. I think I turned that one off actually. Oh, one of these guys literally just spawned in front of my face right now. I'll happily buy a record off of him. This is a reminder to support your local artists. Not like that. Don't take that as an example though. Let's give this a listen. So for those of you who don't already know, I would classify myself as I listen to everything type of person. And the name on the record, La Vida Loca, sounds a lot like Livin' La Vida Loca. Livin' La Vida. Yeah, that's the name of the song, right? Ricky Martin. Yeah, I have the right song in mind. So I thought it would be somewhat related to that song, but just a liminal type of track. I like it. Also, send me music in the Discord. Link in the description. I'll listen to it and I'll tell you how I feel. But anywho's, this has been running for quite a while now, and it seems like I have run into my next bottleneck. That is, this entire production line is able to keep up with itself. And what's holding it back is this guy right here. It's not working at 100% capacity. And if I chase the problem further back, this guy is effectively running at 100% capacity. This is always running but this isn't always running. So that means that the machine behind this would be backlogged, and that absolutely makes sense. It doesn't have an output hatch because the output hatch is full of platinum. And it's full of platinum here. And I bet it's also full of platinum here. Yeah, somewhere here. But either way, it can't go ahead with the processes until it's done flushing out all of that platinum. And it's got a bunch in there, 3,000 buckets or so. And then transfer all of that into here and so on and so forth. So I think I need more of these guys right here, the washers. Where do I put more washers then? I'm thinking here and there. Just symmetrically, or maybe here and here. I don't know, I'll think of something. But I do need more washers. And once again, I gotta tell you that this process cannot be substituted with the Mekanism MultiBlocks machines. Like, there is no washing station that will give me the output ratio that this thing can. It has to be the multi-block to do the 12x processing, so I need a multi-block to do it. So I've been doing a little bit of brainstorming, and I've had a few people reach out and tell me that they like when I walk you guys through how I think about these problems, so I'm gonna do exactly that. What's on my mind right now is the fact that these pressurized tubes have no way of knowing how much stuff goes in the hatches. So if I want to make sure that this guy, the chemical washer, has enough fluids to, complete a process so it doesn't get stuck, I need to make sure it has 1,000. Now, fortunately for me, there exists a tiny hatch of the chemical variety that only accepts 1,000 millibuckets. So I can do that and only have a tiny input, so I can evenly split this into 1,000 at a time. And that sort of checks out, but I have no way of knowing if something will fill up and then fill up the second one, and this one uses some, and then the rest goes into here. But then if I use subnets instead of this pressurized tube, I can have it go from here into here directly, and if I use something like a storage bus with priority, I can prioritize using one over the other. And on one hand, I can just start building more of these and start wiring all of them together, but I would like to do just a tiny bit of math, which is why all of these are in my hotbar. So it seems that for this process, the one that I'm using right now, it takes 10 ticks to produce 16,000 millibuckets, or 1,600 millibuckets per tick. I'm gonna try to put all of my thoughts in text here, just so you can follow along at home. So as I was saying, off the top of my head, this is 1,600 millibuckets per tick, which is used 1,000 millibuckets at a time every 5 ticks. So this machine can process it at a rate of 200 millibuckets per tick. So over 5 ticks, it consumes 1,000. So if I have 1,600 millibuckets per tick and I'm consuming it at 200 millibuckets per tick, I would need 8 chemical washers. Okay, that's no problem at all. I can just type that in chat. I can just go 8 washers, right? Just for future reference, just keep that over there. Now let's go to the next step, where 800 clean aluminum slurry turns into 32 crystals, 6,400 millibuckets at a time, over 1 second. So I can do this in seconds, and this thing is produced 800 at a time every 5 ticks from 8 machines. All of those inputs would add up to be, well, the amount needed, and that would be every 5 ticks. So 8 machines would produce enough output to produce 1 recipe every 5 ticks, and this process every 20 ticks. So I would need 4 of these machines to process these 4 times as fast if I'm to run this chemical distillation chamber all the time. And hypothetically, I would like to do that. I would like to set up the system in a way where I can constantly pipe ores into this and have them go down the chain without fear of it being the slow point or any bottlenecks down the line. So I think I'm going to have to do that too. I'm going to have to double up that machine. And so for me, what that entails is I would need 2 crystallizers total, so 1 more crystallizer. I'm going to type 2 because I typed 8 above it. Crystallizers. Or you can spell that with an S, depending on your prerogative. I don't judge. So that now means that for me to keep this design language consistent throughout my base, I would need space for how many more machines? 8 more machines, because I have 1 of each example already. So 8 more machines will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, maybe? I think that could work. Can I try that? I'll try that. Hey, more modularium crafting and crap. You know what? I've requested all those machines, but I feel like they'll be crafting for quite a while here, so I might as well just not time-lapse this in all honesty, because there's really no point. You're just gonna watch me wait for that to be done, and then wait for me to press the button that makes the thing assemble. I'll just be back. Don't miss me too much while I'm gone. And here's a little update for you guys. I have all of these built up. All of the washers built up at the very least. I haven't built the crystallizer yet because I'm now going to go ahead and solve the wiring crisis I've run into. I simply do not have the brain power to wire up all of these properly and manage all of their fluids and chemicals and make sure that this chemical doesn't end up in this chemical input. So I think I'm going to create a different subnet to handle all of these outputs and pipe into the two crystallizers and handle all of the inputs via stacked subnets. And it all starts right here. And for now, I'm sticking with the classic white cable, but you guys can choose whatever cable you want. That's all right. This will just end up here eventually. Now the storage from this infinity water block will try to find a place. The only place where it can really go is this storage right here, so the fluid hatch. So it'll end up there. This storage bus is connected to a chemical input, so the only place where a chemical can go is, well, that right there, and the only place where chemicals are produced is right here. So I'm hoping that the chemicals end up there, and then, you know, the same all the way around. That being said, I do want to test that out, so I have a quartz fiber. I'm just gonna lock this right there and hopefully connect it up, or do I need a regular old cable for it? Seems like I need a regular cable. That should now be receiving power, and if everything comes online, I know I'm in good shape. Everything's online. I'm using 4 channels, makes sense. 1, 2, 3, 4. There'll be a 5th one for the interface up top. If I then, where'd Darkstone stairs go? What? Whatever. Darkstone stairs, please, and thank you. Just need that. And if this produces a bunch, it should end up in here, which it has. I can now disable this once again. Ooh, but the water has not worked. So this doesn't automatically push into the storage bus. Well, I wonder if it's an interface, if that makes any difference. What if I use an interface instead? Let's find out live. To the live studio audience, how are you guys doing today? You feeling good? You liking the 12X so far? Let me know in the comments. I want to know. That also didn't work, seemingly. Oh no, it did. Cool. So this should be working now. No chemical input hatch found. Well, it's working. Because it does something, it runs out, it does something. And it's slowly draining this dirty platinum slurry from there. Just notice it says dirty platinum slur at the top. That's a little bit funny, actually. My plans for the space up here are pretty similar, actually. I'm going to have a storage bus and an interface. And now this interface should be filling up with all sorts of crap, I think. Ooh, wait, the interface isn't online, so I don't think it does it yet. But this interface will be supplied with the water that comes through the storage bus looking for somewhere to go and ends up in these fluid output hatches, or input hatches rather. And then these storage buses connected to the chemical input hatches will get the chemicals coming through the storage bus. I'm hoping that's how that works. What I have been doing, however, is going around and on the chemical inputs, decreasing the priority by like a few ticks, just so that's a -1, so I'll set this to be a -2, just so that it doesn't try to fill them all up at the same time. It prioritizes one of them and ensures that at least one of them has 8,000. So this one's -3 then. And now I've got to power it. And yep, powering it on was as simple as pulling up another cable and surrounding it with quartz fiber so it doesn't connect. And now that has water and that has chemical slurry. This interface should be empty because nothing more can be put in here. So this network now reports its storage as completely full. And this storage bus doesn't try to push anything into here anymore. How cool is that? Now all I gotta do is repeat that for that guy over there, and then that guy over there, and then these two over here, and then also the one in this corner here. Yeah, pretty cool. And initially I thought I could use that wireless connector to propagate the subnet all the way around. But I'm thinking I can be a little bit more clever and propagate the subnet through this point right here. And what I mean by that is to add another one of these storage buses and an interface, and then do that, and then hook it up to a wireless connector, like so. Now, just as before down here, the network from downstairs tries to push all of its contents into whatever goes on beyond this point. And what I'm thinking happens next will be that this connects there, and then there'll be another wireless connector there that connects there, and then another one there that connects there, and then so on and so forth. It's a little bit of a mess, but it's my mess and I like it. Or in all fairness, I think a cooler alternative would be to run a cable along this edge right here, and ooh, I hope it doesn't influence any machines there. It'll definitely run into this corner here, but a cable could also look cool. I think I can make a cable work. Yeah, I don't feel like exposing a bunch of cables more than I have to. I'll use wireless connectors instead. They look neater. And just so we're clear, I'll repeat myself once again. Storage buses on my inputs, a connector that will connect to the thing down the line. In fact, I think I can move this ahead by a block. So a connector down the line, a connector that brings the connection here, and then the two outputs. And then, would I want a storage bus into the next connector? I think I do, so I'll do that. I need another block space actually, so that goes back there. And then the subnet can shift places right here. So, once again, cables connect into the desired outputs like so, and setup kits. And now that it's connected, I can supply with power, I think, and this should have 3 channels active. One's here and 2 are out there. Coolio, right? Now this should also have water and some slurry. And then I did the same here, where I will take a cable, and then a storage bus this way, and an interface going the other way. Should sort of move these things out because I don't need them. Perfect. Like so. And then this will connect to the thing over here, and you get the idea. And with this priority being set at -8, I think that is all of the inputs perfectly set up. Now I gotta do the outputs, and for the sake of not repeating myself for the umpteenth time, I'm just gonna do the same thing where I'm gonna import into an interface and then stack a bunch of subnets on top of each other and then output into this machine and this machine. I'll meet you guys when it's done. And it's done. And dare I say, it has taken a lot more to actually craft up all of this. Like, I've spent more time waiting for the Hephaestus Forge to craft a modularium than I've actually spent putting down all of these blocks and even correcting all of these, because I can obviously copy and paste this same build over and over again and just swap the controllers out as needed. Okay, yeah, that's also done. I did all of the inputs and outputs. They're basically going in the opposite direction as this. So it goes from here over to there, and then over to there, then behind there, or that purple, that orange one right there, and then it ends up somewhere, I don't know. And the next destination would be to fuel all of these, the 1, 2, 3, and the 4 chemical crystallizers with 6,400 slurry at a time. And I think that is a task perfectly suited for SFM, because that way I can specify how much to retain in each and every single one of these. I think I'm going to have to go off camera and think about some code before I write it down, but you'll know when it's done. For sure. Okay, I do believe everything's done. All of the stuff's labeled up. Yeah. There's crystallizer, and there's crystals. The crystallizer takes stuff from the clean slurry back there, and the crystals go into the injector right there. Okay, and I'm just going to show y'all what the code looks like. I am using the... Let's just hit cancel real quick. I'm using the limits example, and with a little bit of help from Discord, I was able to reach this. Output 6,400 each chemical to crystallizer round robin. So what this is trying to do is take the chemicals from the clean slurry, which is actually just an ingredient buffer, because I figured, what else can I use that can accept chemicals from the AE system and also be accessed via SFM? The buffer made sense. And then, let's see, take 64 each chemical, so it tries to grab 6,400 of the chemicals, sends it to the crystallizer one at a time. And then it takes the crystals as inputs and puts them in the ejector every second. Now, I do recognize that this runs pretty much every 5 ticks or something, so this might not work, and the logistics of my network might become an issue. But we never know until we try, and when I did plug everything in and push all the labels, everything turned on for a quick second. So the only way to truly test this whole system from start to end is to just hook everything up and connect this right here. Now that's filling up with slurry, and this should be going out, and it seems like it is. Acceleration cards always help. I should do one of those. And the slurry seems to be leaving. This has no chemical output to be found, and that is concerning. Why have I missed this? Easy fix though, at the very least. Just need to drag this cable down and hook it up. Right? That should be pulling out. Might as well give it one of those, just to make sure it stays empty. Now, if that's working, I can only imagine that all of them are working. Right? Just gotta check though. Processing. No energy input hatch. And that is correct. I don't think I hooked any of these back up to power. So, okay, that's that fixed. Just had to drag some power around. Let's see. Processing. Yep. Processing. Yep. This one should also be processing. All of these should be processing is what I'm getting at. No recipe, no energy input. That is true. This one does not have energy. That should have energy. And this should also have energy. Let's fix the one down here, shall we? Yeah, I hooked all of these up to power, just forgot this one. Okay, also fixed. This should be processing up. And these should also be processing up. No chemical input, no matching recipe. That's concerning. The outputs go out every second. So it produces some and then leaves some. Okay, that's fine by me. And that should be working for all of them. So that's working. That's working. This guy is also working because there's nothing in there. And then where's the last one? This one's the last one. I haven't checked this one yet. It's also working. Perfect. Now the final check is to find out if all of these can keep up. And it seems like they cannot keep up. It seems like I need more of these machines, more injecting factories. And fortunately, all of this has worked out in such a way where the furnace is in the middle of everything, so I should be able to just copy this, flip it around, and paste it over here. Except I have to do that manually, so it's just going to take a little bit of effort. But you know what? That can wait as an update for the next episode, because I am sort of tired of recording the 12x setup for so long, and I believe this video is 47 minutes and 38 seconds long. So with that all out of the way, this has been KSI and all the mods 10. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, everybody.